Welcome to a special twofer episode of the TUE Brew Review, because today we're checking out two beers. We are checking out Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA, and we're also checking out this Homebrew, which is a 60-minute IPA clone. So first of all, Dogfish Head, innovative brewers, been around for decades, out of Milton, Delaware, of all places. But decades ago, I think in the late 90s, they came up with the innovation of hop additions being continuous. Normally, when hop additions are made into beer, there's usually hop additions that are made towards the start of the boiling of the wort or the sweet malty water. And when you add it at the start and you boil it for a period of usually an hour to an hour and a half, you are extracting the bitterness out of the hops, but you lose a lot of the flavors and aromatics. Those kind of get boiled out. So what a lot of brewers will do is that then they'll also add a hop addition very late in the boil, sometimes even after the boil. That's called dry hopping. But that's a process. When they add them late, they're not trying to get the bitterness out of the hops. They're trying to get flavors and aromatics. So the folks at Dogfish Head said, why don't we just add a little bit of hops every minute for this 60-minute boil? So we'll get the hop bite and the bitterness with the stuff we add first, and then the stuff we add later, we'll get more of the flavors and aromatics. And it turned out to be a huge hit, and they've since made a 90-minute version and a 120-minute version. In fact, now they also have a 30-minute version, I believe, as well, which is kind of a lighter IPA. But this is a straight-up American IPA. And then homebrew geeks such as myself, every once in a while, like to make what's called a clone beer. So we'll try to put together a recipe that follows that certain beer style. Now, note that Dogfish Head, nor do just about any brewers, publicize how they make their beer, so what the ingredients are. So you kind of go into homebrew forums, and some people have different variations of what they call clone recipes, which are beer recipes made to somewhat be similar to other commercially available beers out there. So I did a little research, found a couple different forums that did 60-minute IPAs, and came up with this one I brewed with my buddy Rick earlier this spring. And I just so happen to have a 12-ounce bottle. So, and not that I'm expecting these beers to be similar, because again, we don't know what their grain bill is. Obviously, homebrew equipment versus commercial, big difference there. But it's more in the spirit of the process in which that we also followed the 60-minute continual hopping. So we were adding a little bit of hops to the brew kettle every single minute, as well as dry hopping. So enough of me yakking. Let's go ahead and first of all, let's try the commercial product. So this is of course the Dogfish Head product. Get it in the glass. Nice foamy head. You've got kind of a nice gold color, very translucent. You've got a little bit of a nucleation there. You've got a nice white frothy head. My guess is there might be a little bit of wheat malts in the grain bill. Yeah, get some really nice, like tropical hop aromatics. This is an American IPA style, so you're either going to get like the tropical mango fruity aromatics. You can also get like some pine resiny aromatics. This is definitely on kind of the tropical fruit side. Cheers. Yeah, classic American IPA. You get a nice hit of malt up front. More so than the hops. But then the hops definitely come in on the back end. Good balance, good harmony, not too overbearing. I want to say this is probably around, I think it's like 6% ABV. So it's more in like the American Pale Ale than the American IPA category. I think the 90-minute is more like an American IPA. It's got a little bit more malt heft to it. This is actually, much more approachable relative to most American IPAs. Yeah, it's delicious. Not heavy, medium mouthfeel. Got a really nice smooth finish, and it's got the hops let you know it's there from the start to finish, but not in a cloying way at all. It's got enough malt sweet balance to kind of offset some of the hop additions. So as expected, it's a beer I've had before. Very drinkable, very crushable, very enjoyable. So now let's move on to this homebrew. This compared to the commercial example, Dogfish Heads, this is 6.8% ABV. So this is approaching more of like an American IPA instead of an American Pale Ale, and 60 IBUs. So it has the same amount of IBUs, or international bittering units, on the 100+ point bitterness scale. And of course we bottled it because I do not have a commercial canning operation at my disposal. So if we look at the color, it's definitely a shade darker, more amber colored, whereas the commercial is more kind of a gold color. And not as citrusy in the hops. In fact, it's a little begging for some more hops in the nose. Getting a ton of nice malt character, and getting a little touch of kind of floral hops and resiny hops, but not too much in terms of tropical. By the way, the hop additions were Amarillo, Simcoe, and Warrior. Amarillo and Simcoe are kind of all weather, and those do have those fruity characteristics. Where Warrior is more of a traditional West Coast style hop that gives you kind of the herbal, resiny. So it should have an element of both, but not picking up too much of the tropical. Cheers. This very much reminds me of a homebrew in a good way, but then you can really kind of taste the cooked malt, because this was part whole grain and part using malt extract, and I can kind of taste that. And this homebrew is interesting that it kind of starts slow with the hops. So again, I'm not getting a lot of it in the aromatics, but the first sip, mid-drink, you do start getting more of the hop character, but then the hops really comes in the finish and really gives the maltiness a run for its money. Yeah, this definitely finishes like an American IPA, just used a little bit more in the nose, and again in the mid palate, but very, very drinkable beer, very good. Definitely has more body and mouthfeel and heft than the Dogfish Head version. Again, making these beers, we call them trying to make a clone, but it would probably take, I don't know, at least 5 to maybe 10 different times of making this and tweaking the recipe to come up with one that really got close to what Dogfish Head is all about. It was more about doing the 60-minute continuous hop additions, was really kind of the point of the whole exercise, and we accomplished that. And this beer, very very drinkable in its own right. So fun experiment. Hope you enjoyed following along. Once again, we've got the Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA and the Summer of Steve at 60 American IPA doing battle. Okay, cheers.